logistical things before we get started. First off, my name is Angie Andreessen. I'm the business analyst here at the Department of Labor and Industry, working on the Workers' Compensation Modernization Program. So today we're going to be going through some of the system functionality for you all as rehab providers. So as I mentioned, a couple logistical things before we jump in. So all of you have been muted upon entry. If for some reason you need to come off of mute, you can do so by pressing the little button that looks like a microphone with a slash through it. That'll unmute you. We ask that you do try and stay on mute unless for some reason you want to ask a question in person or in vocally, just so we can minimize background noise for everyone else who is on the call. We also do encourage questions via the chat function. That's really great because everybody can see your questions, can reference them later, and then also just gives us a way to track them a little bit easier. So we highly recommend utilizing that function. Additionally, I do have everyone's video disabled just because we've got a number of participants on this call today. So I just kind of want to conserve bandwidth. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into the content. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk through some rehab processes today. So hopefully all of you are in the right place if you're a rehab provider or if you work for a rehab organization. So just a little bit of an overview for the agenda. We're going to go through where the training information is located on our DLI website and show you what trainings you can sign up for, as well as additional resources that will help you with campus. We're going to look at campus itself and do a short demo. I'm going to touch on group management just a little bit, since I know that some of you are group managers, others who may not be group managers, but you would all be part of a group at some point. So just going to touch on that very quickly. And then I also am going to go step by step through the RCR and the R2 forms. So especially with the RCR, I wanted to show you all a couple pathways. I know we had a lot of questions last time about what happens if we don't have the correct information for the claim. What happens if we don't have the employee's worker ID or the last four of their social or anything that we would need to file that. I'm going to show you guys the path where you do have that information, and then also show you the path where you do not have that information. So along the way, we're going to go ahead and take your questions. I've got Melissa Parrish. She's one of our compliance supervisors, as well as John Brothen. He also works in our compliance unit. They're going to help us with those questions today that are coming through in the chat. And they're going to help with some of the policy questions, any policy questions you all have, or any rule questions that you have related to rehabilitation. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump to my training page. All right, so this is our WorkComp Campus training page. So this chart here, you can look at this chart. I'm going to go ahead and open this link in a new window. It's going to let you know what trainings. Excuse me, was there a question? All right, going back through this. So this is just a little chart that tells you kind of what you need to do as a rehab provider in Minnesota, what trainings may be helpful for you in your day-to-day operations. So you can see here we've got Campus 101 for rehab providers, Campus 201 for QRCs, and then dispute resolution. So currently on our training page, we don't have any live training scheduled for rehab providers, but I believe that there are plans to offer an additional live training. It just has not quite yet been scheduled. So keep an eye out for updates to that. Something that I also want to call out is our recorded training. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom of this training page, you can see here the pre-recorded training sessions. So this one right here, this Campus 101 for rehab providers and Campus 201 for rehab providers, as well as dispute resolution for external stakeholders. We also have our external technical manual down here. That's great. It's just a general system guide that goes through multiple processes in Campus. We also have a few quick reference guides. We've got one for QRC and QRC intern registrations and renewals, as well as the RCR and the RCR submissions, and the rehab provider registration and renewal. So your group registration and your individual registration both have links here. And thank you, Melissa, for putting the link in the chat for that external manual. And before we move on, any questions right now in the chat, Melissa, regarding training?
Nothing yet. I did link the training page and, like you said, the technical manual. I did not link all those quick reference guides because there's several, but you can find each of them on that top link that I posted. And anyone who doesn't know where the chat is, if you're at the bottom of your page viewing the WebEx, there's a little chat button you can click on to open up the chat function on the right-hand side. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. So with that, I am going to go ahead and jump into Campus. And I just remembered one last thing I wanted to point out in training before I move into Campus to show you guys demo. So you'll see here we have a couple trainings that are called group management training. If anybody on this call recalls filling out a survey related to group administrators or group management, or if anybody within your company has indicated that you would be a group administrator for your firm, I would highly recommend attending one of these trainings. We're going to go through at a more detailed level how you all can complete group management functions in Campus, which would be like adding users to your rehab firm, giving different permissions to people, things of that nature. So highly recommend that if you are a group administrator, or if you know that there are additional people who will be group administrators in your firm, if you are a group administrator, highly recommend attending one of those trainings. They're available on October 14th and October 21st from 1 to 3 p.m. Central Time, and they will also be recorded and posted to the website. So with that, I am just going to go ahead and jump into Campus. So this is something that a lot of you may have already seen. This is just our sign in page. Now, if I was going to sign up for the first time, I could click sign up. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to act like an established user. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in as a QRC. And when you log in, you just have to acknowledge our access requirements since this is a government website. And you can see here that I have my Campus dashboard. It's going to have a number of things on it. And I apologize, I need to move a WebEx window really quickly here so that I can see some other pieces of my screen. All right, so you can see just on this main dashboard, we've got a number of things. We've got my claims, which if you have signed authorization from an employee to view their claim and you've submitted that through the department and it's been approved, claims that you have access to review would be here. Now that's probably going to happen less frequently than the other things that you're going to be using Campus for, but just so you're aware, if you do have access to a whole division file for some reason, that would be right in this queue. We also have my disputes. So you can see here, I don't have any disputes right now, but if I filed like a rehab request or something of that nature, that dispute is going to show up right here in this queue. We've got the My Forms queue. You can see here that I have a number of forms that I've submitted, a couple that are in draft status. I can use this to view any of those forms at any time or to go back to a form that I've saved in draft status. And then finally, the tab that you all are probably going to be using quite a bit is my rehab cases. So you'll see here in just a second that my rehab cases are going to populate. I've got a couple here. And in a little bit, we will go through and look at one of those rehab cases. So before we jump into the rehab, I just wanted to show you a couple things with profiles and your groups. So you can see here that I'm part of a group. Now, I believe most of you all likely will be part of groups on day one. It will kind of depend on how your group administrators elect to structure that. But if you're not part of a group, this My Groups button is essentially just missing. Once you are part of a group, you can click on this My Groups button and you can see any groups that you're a part of. Now, for most of you all, that's probably just going to be one group because it'll be whatever rehab firm that you work for, or if you're a sole practitioner, it would just be your firm as a sole practitioner. And you can see here that we can do a couple things from this page. This gives us kind of a basic overview of the people that are part of our group. So you can see myself as Angie Rehab. I've got a number of permissions. I'm the group administrator. I'm also a service of process designee. I'd receive requests for information from the department, any penalties. I can also manage my group's profile. And then I can also allocate access to cases or claims to other people within my group. You can see here that we have another group admin as well. It's Rehab. So this page is always going to show you what group administrators you have, and it's going to give you a number of members that are in your group. So if I click this link here for Great Lakes Rehab, it's going to take me to my groups page. This is just going to be some really basic information about your firm. So obviously you see the name, the FEAN, the group type. We can see any addresses associated with this firm. We could see the staff and interns associated with this firm, and then any related claims and cases associated with the firm. Going back to this page, since I'm a group administrator, I can do a couple things. I can manage the group, which is likely going to be the thing that group admins are doing the most on the QRC end. So I could adjust permissions for myself or for Reed. I could add somebody to this group. So if we needed to add another QRC, or if there's a brand new intern that we wanted to add, or support staff, we could add them here by clicking this add member and typing in their email address. If they're a part of campus already, if they're already registered, it will just add them to the group. If they are not registered, it will send them an email invitation letting them know that they can register for campus. And upon registration, it would just add them directly to the group. And going back to the dashboard, getting a little bit more specifically into the functionality that you all will be handling on a daily basis. So as I mentioned earlier, this submit a filing button. So if we click this, it's going to have all kinds of options. So for the purposes of this demo, I want to show you all the RCR. So when you first need to file your RCR, it's going to take you to this locate a claim page. This is probably something that you all are going to become very familiar with as QRCs. This is used in a couple different places throughout the system. So we use it here for you all to file your RCRs. We also use it on our dispute page. So if you are needing to file a rehab request or something of that nature, you're going to follow these same steps to try and find the claim that you are looking to file to. So for my purposes, I'm going to use the middle option. I'm going to use the jurisdiction claim number, which is a number that is assigned by the state to a date of injury. And then I'm going to use the employee's last name as well. Now, if I didn't have this information for some reason, I could use the last four of the social, date of injury, and employee last name. Or I could also use the worker ID number, the WID, which most of you are likely familiar with already. This is just a number that's specifically assigned to an injured worker at the time of an injury. So the worker ID, this WID, follows the injured worker for any claim that they have in Minnesota. The jurisdiction claim number, JCN, is going to specifically be related to their date of injury. So I could use that worker ID and employee date of injury as well. So you can see here that there was a match on that claim. I did have the correct jurisdiction claim number and last name for CC, who's the employee that I'm going to file for. So I'm going to go ahead.
Angie, we do have one question while you're doing that. We have a question of where can we find the JCN?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So that is likely something that whoever you are working with directly, so like if you're working with an insurance company or even like an employee's attorney, they should be able to get you that information. If for some reason you're just having a really difficult time tracking it down, you can always reach out to our help desk as well, and they may be able to help you out with that information. For the purposes of what QRCs will be doing, I think most of the time you all will likely be using those additional options on either side of that located claim step that I had mentioned earlier. And we can look at those again. I think more likely than not, you all are probably going to have that other information rather than the jurisdiction claim number, but you should be able to get that from either the insurance company, the claim administrator, or an attorney, or the injured worker may have it in some circumstances as well.
Hey, Angie, this is Brad.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to clarify, just so everybody's aware. So the JCN is that campus file number sitting up there on the top left. So anybody that has access to the actual claim. So the employee, if they have access, obviously an insurance carrier, attorney, anybody with access can just give you the campus file number, and that is the JCN.
Thanks, Brad. So you can see here, since we had that match, a lot of the information already transferred over for us. So we've got the claim admin claim number. We just need to add the claim rep information. We have all the employee information. We can edit the employee's phone number if for some reason you all as QRCs have a more updated phone number, you can edit that. We can add contacts for the employer. We can kind of see all the details for the parties that are associated to this case. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to select an address for our rehab firm. My QRC phone number already populated, but if I needed to edit that for some reason, I could. And then if we scroll down, we get to the qualification details. So these are going to look very familiar to all of you. These questions are on our existing RCR, so it's the exact same thing. The difference is that you're just going to select with radio buttons in this form. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click no for this one. Yes, yes, and yes. And then click that, in my opinion, the employee is a qualified employee for rehab services. Now you can also type in a narrative right here. This space is a little bit limited. It's only 500 characters. So we realize that a lot of you all are probably going to be uploading your narratives, which is absolutely fine. So in this case, if I was going to upload my narrative, I'm just going to put C attached narrative right here. I can upload my document. When you upload the document, and if I click search for files, it's just going to take me to my downloads because that's how I have it set up in my system. But it would go to wherever you had your default set for where to upload files. I am required to choose a document type, so I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down. I'm going to select miscellaneous right now, but I believe that there are more specific categories for you all. I'm just going to type in the description, narrative report for RCR. So once I click upload, you can see here that my document is right here. Let's say I accidentally uploaded the wrong document. I could click the trash can and get rid of it. We also have the option here to upload the rights and responsibilities. So that is not required to be done within this form, but we realize that a lot of you all do file those at the same time. So we wanted to give you an option to do that. You can add any supporting attachments, and we've got information here on exactly like the rules that are associated with these and what you would need to do. I'm not going to upload any supporting attachments, but that is available to you all. And then you do also have the option to serve this document. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to serve it to my employee. I'm going to serve it to the insurer as well. Now you'll notice here that these say that the service is US mail. So you'll also notice here that I've got a service of process designee for Up North Insurance, which is my insurance company. So what that means is that Up North Insurance will get served, or Angie Adjuster will get served this via Campus. If your employee is also signed up for Campus, they would also be served via email. If they're not, their service method is just going to say US mail. If for some reason that address looks incorrect, you can also select edit address and make changes. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click my declaration here, just saying that everything is true and correct. I'm going to sign and check the box. One really important thing to note, if you attempt to, this is just something that I found is a really good tip to know. If you try to say that you're signing it before you sign it, the form is not going to allow you to go forward. So just make sure that when you are attesting that you're signing something, that you've already signed it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in my initial consultation date. Now we've got a few options here now that we've got this all filled out. I can say this is a draft, I can download it as a PDF, I can preview it if I want to take a look at it and see what it looks like. I can totally close out of this if I don't want to do anything or if I made a mistake for some reason, and I can click the back button if I need to go back to a previous screen. I'm just going to go ahead and click submit for the purposes of this.
While that's going, we do have another question. How does the attestation signature work if the admin is inputting this info? So I believe that means it's someone who's, yeah, they have like an admin staff who's doing it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the signature is always going to be whomever is submitting it in Campus. So we would still have all of that rehab provider information in the form, but your signature is going to be required to match whomever is actually completing the form. We look at your Campus profile for the signing. So you can see here that my form.
Angie?
Yeah.
Sorry, in our next demo, we'll put that on the list to show an admin staff submitting on behalf of the QRC and show you how it works.
Yes, definitely we can do that. So you can see here, I got this confirmation page just showing that my form was submitted. So there's a few pieces of really important information here. So you can see here, I have this associated ID now. Since I filed that RCR, it created what's called a rehab transaction in Campus. It also created a document or generated a document that I can view. That's going to be in the My Forms queue, and then it's also going to be on this rehab transaction. It's going to let me know that an email was sent that recaps all of this information, so that I've got a copy for my records, which is great if you all need to print it and save it to your own files. And then it's also going to show this link for the My Forms history that I was showing you all earlier. So I'm going to go ahead for the purposes of this and just click on this RT and show you all what the rehab transaction looks like. So you can see here that everything that I put in that form is now available on this page. You can see there's a few things on here that are still blank because I just filed this. So I'm not going to have an R2 file date quite yet, but it does have all these dates for when I filed my RCR, when my R2 is due, when my initial rehab consultation occurred, all of those good things. It's also got the parties that are related to this rehab transaction. So we've got CC, our employee, we have our employer, our insurer, and then obviously our rehab firm. If I click the Documents tab, you can see this miscellaneous document that I uploaded along with my rehab consultation report. If I click on this, it's going to take me to the actual document of my rehab consultation report. So I apologize, I know this is super tiny, but it's pretty similar to the current form. The difference is that it's just going to pre-populate everything that you entered into that previous screen. And it's also going to attach your affidavit of service. So you can see here that the affidavit of service does break out people who need to be served via mail and people who are served electronically.
Now, we do have a, sorry,
yeah.
Angie, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
From the chat, when it says, when you submit the form by campus or US mail to the adjuster, et cetera, is there also a choice to send it to the injured worker? Right now, we send a copy of the documents to the injured worker.
Yes, absolutely. So if you see here, we've got a service recipient that's CC, the employee. So what you would do in these circumstances, since she is not opted in for electronic service quite yet, you could actually download this document. What our system is going to do is it's actually going to go ahead and create address labels for anybody who needs to be served via mail. So if I click on that address label attachment, you can see that it's already created a full page address label for you to print off and use, so you don't even have to retype that address for CC.
Thank you. And then a follow-up, if this is not submitted through campus, if we decide to just mail or email, is an affidavit of service required?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Are you asking if the RCR is not submitted through campus?
I believe that's what the question is.
Okay. So the RCR, I believe, does need to be submitted through campus. There would not be an option anymore for you to mail or email those documents. So this is the one way for you to submit those.
Yeah, so this is Brad. Maybe we take this down as a feedback item, Melissa, because I do believe that gets into the rehab rules on what requires service and what just needs to be sent copies. And maybe we can clarify that to the group.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll mark this down. And
Perfect.
She did clarify as well. Yep. That she means to the parties and is in agreement with you. So we will definitely take this down and get some more information out to your group. Good questions. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
So yes, if you are going to mail it, you can print that document off and we'll take that other question away just to kind of get some clarification. If you are going to mail this document, like I said, it will just create these address labels for you that you can use to pop those in the mail. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to our rehab transactions. There's a couple ways that I could do that here. If I was on this initial documents page, I always am going to have this link to whatever related transaction. Otherwise, I could go back to my homepage and look at my rehab transactions and get there from there, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. So keeping with Cece's claim, I am going to go ahead and just submit the R2. So if I click on this R form details button right here, it's going to pull up all of the available filings for me. So you'll notice that some of them are just dotted lines. They don't have these solid lines. That means that for some reason you can't submit it at this time. Essentially, it means it's out of sequence. It's not what comes next. So you can see here that since I filed my RCR, I can file an R2, I can file a retraining plan, or I can file an R3. I cannot file my R8, I cannot file my PPR because those require filings beforehand. They can't be submitted directly after the RCR. So if I click this R2, I'm just going to click submit and next, and it's going to take me to my R2. So this is going to pull through all of the information from that previous screen. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in the claim rep name again, recognizing that claim reps do change a decent amount. I'm going to update the phone number for my employee. You can see here a lot of the same information as what was provided on that R2 or that RCR at the very top here. And then when we get into the occupational details, this is kind of where we see the changes. I'm going to say.
While you're doing that, I do have one more question here.
Yeah.
What about the rights and responsibilities and disclosure of affiliation? And I'm not sure, Angie, if that is a question for you or if we'd perhaps call on anyone else.
Yeah. So you can upload the rights and responsibilities, I know, as part of the RCR. If you have other filings, I don't believe that we have like a specific web form for either of those, but I can show you where you can upload additional filings to the claim if there is not, or not claim, rehab transaction, if we do not have a web form for them. So I'll show you that in just a moment.
Great. Thanks, Angie.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. So I'm just kind of filling out all of these standard questions. If I had any comments, I could type them here.
And this is Brad. Oh, sorry. I was just saying to add some more just clarification to that last comment. On the RCR, there is a section where you can add those attachments, and there's a drop down where you can label them, your rights and responsibilities on there. Or like Angie's showing you, you can just do an upload at any time and name it that. So that's where those are found. So we can show that again if we need to.
Yeah, I can definitely show that when I show you all how to file an RCR if you don't have the claim information. So we can definitely do that. So here I can type my initial evaluation report. Again, a small text field, so only about 500 characters, which is why we allow for an upload. So I'm just going to go ahead and do see attached, evaluation report, upload my document. You can see that that's right there. I can remove it again if for some reason I'm not, don't think that I put the right one up there. And then I can add my services provided. So if I want to add additional services provided, I can do so. I can also remove those if I add too many. I'm just going to go ahead and put my projected cost and completion date. And full disclosure, I'm not super familiar with rehab rates, so I apologize if the projected cost is pretty far off. When I click next, it takes me to the responsibilities page, and it allows me to update or upload supporting attachments. So you can see here, it just kind of reiterates all of those instructions that I believe currently live on the back of the R2 form. I can upload additional attachments. And then I've got my electronic signature, just like I had on that last form right here. We've just got additional information, additional instructions.
Hey, Angie.
Yes.
Before you submit the form, do you want to go back to step 1?
Sure.
Just so it does let you go back, and I just wanted to say on this on the rehab plan, the comments is where you input the vocational goals. So when you go to the QRC comments right there, that's where you input the vocational goals.
Okay.
Just so if people were, I know that's we'll have some more documentation on that, but I know that's something that we've been asked before, and I also am not very good at understanding all the ins and outs of what QRCs do, but we have been asked that question.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Angie.
Yes.
Can you go back just a little bit and show that services provided again?
Absolutely. Hang on just a second.
That went kind of fast. And those
Yeah.
will have to be added as you would on your R2. And of course, on the rehab consultation, that's not a projected cost. That's the cost of your consultation that you'll add. But you'll choose your services provided and then projected costs there. So that's the only thing. So you can add as many as Angie was saying, and those fields will then be filled in. Thanks, Angie.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, as you saw there, you can add as many as you need. I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, not add a whole bunch, but you can remove them just like I showed as well. So again, going back through this page, I've already signed it. I've got all of my information regarding the rules. And then when I get to the very bottom here, I have the ability to distribute the document. So I can either click no if I don't want to distribute it through campus, or I can click yes if I do. If I click yes, it lets me know who I can distribute it to electronically or distribute manually, which just means it needs to go in the mail or however you all wish to send that. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click CC, click my insurer here, and attest that a copy of the form has been provided to all the required parties. As I had on the RCR, I have all of these same options. I can download a PDF of this, I can preview it, save it as a draft and come back later, go back and forth between the steps, or I can even cancel it all the way out. I'm going to click Submit Form here. And it's going to give us another screen really similar to what we saw earlier with the RCR submission. I'm going to click back into my rehab transaction from there, which is going to be the same one that we were on earlier. But if we scroll down here, we can see projected rehab costs. So all of those categories that we had entered on our R2, the rehab cost is now populated. We've got an R2 file date now. And then also if we come to the bottom and click documents, we've got our R2 rehabilitation plan. And it looks like we've got a question in the chat.
Yep. Sorry about that. I was just going to jump in, and it says, but you wouldn't submit the R2 without signatures from employee and adjuster, correct?
So that I'm going to have to defer that question to somebody who knows a little bit more about the rehab rules than I do. And I don't know if you want to answer that, or Mike Hill said correct.
Yep, I do see that. Yep, Mike jumped in with a correct.
Yes. So I believe though that you still submit it in this circumstance, but I'm not sure if you would then upload signed copies or exactly how that process would work. I can certainly follow up on that before our next answer hour.
But I think there's a couple options, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had the signed documents, you could attach them with this one as you submit it. You could also put them into the documents tab and label them with the signature page.
Wonderful. Thank you for outlining those. So a few different options, as Mike mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go back to my dashboard. So for right now, we're all done with CC's file, but I do want to show you all how to submit that RCR if you just don't have all the information you need. So we're going to do, and I apologize, I just went through that a little fast. So I'm going to go back to this Submit a Filing button right here. I'm going to select Rehab Consultation Report. I'll take us back to the screen that we were just looking at. And let's say, I think I might have all of this information, but I'm not sure. I fill it out to the best of my ability. And what's going to happen is it's actually going to take me to this page that just asks for a little bit more information about the claim that we're filing to. So if for some reason you don't have all that information, or if it's not correct, you can definitely still file your RCR. I'm going to go ahead and put in my date of injury. Just kind of fill out this really basic information. Anything with a little asterisk is what is going to be required. But I would encourage you to fill out as much of this information as you have access to. And you can add an employer here as well. You can use this little lookup tool to find an employer. I'm going to go ahead and say that I am looking for Blizzard Construction. So since I had a direct match with the name, it just went ahead and added Blizzard Construction. I'm going to close that out. Now let's say for some reason I just typed in Blizzard. It would give me a list of employers that fit that criteria. So you're just going to want to be as specific as possible when you're naming an employer. Now, if for some reason you search for the employer, you can't find it, you do have the option to click the little I can't find a matching employer button, which that went away as soon as I added a matching employer. But it's the same premise as if you can't find a matching insurer, if you're not aware of the insurer information. If you click that you can't find a match in either the employer or the insurer, it's just going to give you some additional information to figure out or to fill out so that we can review it on the DLI side and figure out who the insurer is on the filing. I'm going to go ahead and search for an employer or an insurer here. Once I've got this all filled out with this basic information, I can click next. And it's going to take me, typically it's going to take me right to my RCR form. It's that same exact form, and I apologize. We are doing some testing on the system this week, so I apologize for that unauthorized screen, but it will take you just to your RCR. Just need to get a little bit of additional information if it does not match directly to a claim. So one last thing that I did want to point out, just in response to, I believe it was Julie's question about those additional filings. I'm going to go into my rehab cases and click on this rehab case that we've been working on for CC and show you all the other filing information. So if I click this submit filing button, this is what's going to be used when it's not one of your typical R forms that is listed under this button. So if I click this submit filing, it's going to give me the ability to just upload an additional filing. So I'm going to click this upload document button. I can select from any of the documents on my computer, and I can select a document type. And these are going to be specific to QRCs for the most part. So if I needed to do like a barrier and measures report, initial evaluation report, let's see, I think the notice of responsibilities was one that, rights and responsibilities, that was one that we were asking about. I could click that as well. And I could upload that right here. I do my electronic signature just like I have on the other pages. And if I had supporting attachments, so let's say I needed to add a few more files to go along with this, I could do that right here in the supporting attachments. Same exact process. The only difference is that it allows you to upload multiple supporting attachments, whereas the filing itself is just going to look for one document. Now, after I've signed and I've attested, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click next. Now I can serve this if I want to from here. Let me go ahead and I'm going to select the insurance company and the employee again. And sign. And submit my form. Now that the form's been submitted, it's going to pop up in the My Forms history that we were looking at earlier. And it's also going to be in the Documents section of that rehab transaction. So you can see this is the document that I uploaded for CC's case. I click back into her case, I'll show you all where that document is located. Again, so if we scroll to the bottom, Click on documents. Now we see that we've got the rights and responsibilities in there as well. Any additional questions or any other functionality that you all are curious about? Something I might be able to show you all right now. Otherwise, we may be able to include it on our next answer hour. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Melissa, do you have any messages at all on your end?
I don't right now. I think when you were drafting that R2, I was trying to see if there was a print PDF button even
Yes.
before you submit it that that people could use with that question about getting the signatures.
Yes, let me go ahead and demo that.
If that is easy enough to demo, sorry to put you on the spot with that, but I thought that might be something worth showing. And then some questions are coming up while you're doing that.
Yeah.
I do have the question of, will the insurer be returning the signed forms to campus?
Yeah, so there is a way for them to upload them, I believe, into Campus, but that's a really good question. I'm going to take that one away and see exactly what the business process surrounding that would be, how it would be expected for them to return that.
Definitely a good question. Thanks, Sarah, for that one.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to complete another one of these. Document RCR. Use a lot of the same information I used for my previous one. Say that the employee is not permanently precluded to return to work and is qualified. I'm going to skip uploading a document just for time purposes here. And yes, so as Melissa mentioned, you can click this download PDF. You can see down in my screen, it's going to generate a copy of this completed form.
Nice. Thanks for running through that, Angie.
Yeah, not a problem.
And I'll read off, Mike Hill did answer a question in the chat regarding will the insurer be returning the signed forms to campus? He says, no, they need to return the signed form to the QRC in the regular way, who will then upload it into the saved draft and then submit.
Wonderful. Thanks for that clarification, Mike. So here I just wanted to show you all one last thing is that Save as Draft button. So if I click the Save as Draft button, I can just click Save. It's going to take me back to my dashboard. And if I go to the My Forms queue, you can see that this was the RCR that we were working on for Nick. If I click on this, it's just going to take me right back into that form where I left off and I can finish it up.
Perfect. Another question here. Is there a limit to the size of the PDF? As with R2, we need to upload a report, usually, which is a bigger document.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there is a document size limit, but I believe that it is like astronomically large. I'm not sure if Brad would know the limit off the top of his head. I can't remember exactly, but it's like, I want to say it was like 500 pages or something, or it's quite large. So it would need to be a very, very large document for you to hit that maximum. Any other questions or any other functionality that you all are curious about at this time?
I'm watching the chat, and right now, nothing else. We'll give it a moment to see if someone's typing.
Awesome. We review the submission of R2s and R3s with and without signatures from the parties. That's great. I will go ahead and take that down for our next answer hour, and we'll run through those processes. I think we're a little short on time to run through all of those right now, but we can absolutely take that into account for next time. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get back into my PowerPoint. So one thing I just wanted to make sure that I touched on with this group, and we'll make sure to make this deck available afterwards as well as the recording. If you have additional questions or comments or anything of that nature, please feel free to send them to this dli.wcmp@state.mn.us email address. We can certainly answer those or get them to the correct people. Additionally, we wanted to provide you all with our help desk information. So these are our help desk numbers. This is a really great number to have if you have any questions now, or even if you have questions after go live. Very good number just to kind of keep handy so that you can connect with our help desk staff who can either answer your question or get you to someone who can help. And then just a quick reminder, our next 2 answer hours are going to be next Friday and the following Friday. And those are going to be at the same time slot from 11 to 12 o'clock p.m. And then also we'll be getting out some additional information regarding that training after we've been able to schedule it. Thanks for adding the email. Mike just added the help desk email into the chat as well. So if you guys want to grab that.
And Stacy asked if the recordings of these answer hours will be available, and yes, they will be on the website once they can be downloaded or and put up on the website with links. So we will be providing those.
Great, thanks, Melissa.
Yep.
All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a meeting and give you all a couple minutes back. As Melissa mentioned, we will get the recording of this presentation up on the website. It does usually take a little bit, so I would anticipate maybe Monday we'd be able to have this recording up, Monday or Tuesday. If you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to send them to that dli.wcmp@state.mn.us email address, and we will certainly keep in mind any answers or any topics that you all brought up today that you'd like us to demo in future answer hours. If you do have additional functionality that you would like us to demo next time, please feel free to send that to the WCMP mailbox as well. We definitely want that feedback. We want to make sure that we're showing you all processes that are going to be valuable for you. So please send us any feedback or ideas. And thank you all and have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, everyone.